welcome, and we're glad you've chosen to join us. Your time is valuable. So we've thought out how to have a conversation without actually having the outcome predetermined. It's an emerging community that we're inviting you into that takes the opportunity of a conversation to both be stimulated to a new insight, but then to build that into how a community can hold it, embody it, and take it out into the world. So listen in and be part.
Sitting in, is this your new office or is this your car?
Yeah, it's my mobile office. You know,
I
it's
love
going day to day wherever I go. I'm actually, it's kind of a secret, but I'm down south. I took.
Hey, you know what? It's no longer a secret. It's no longer a secret. Go ahead.
Everyone knows. Secret's out. I got invited to come down south and join a few friends for a little social distancing together.
Good.
More or less.
All right.
And after this week and the amount of conversations I've had, which will probably lead into what we're going to talk about today on a few things.
Good.
I wanted to enjoy some of the beauty of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I took the Highway 1 all the way down here. Much longer road trip, but beautiful.
Oh,
Just
nice
beautiful.
to hear. Nice to hear.
Yeah.
So did you head out from the city, San Francisco, on Highway 1 and head south?
Correct.
Did you see much sunshine? I'm near the beach now, and it's like
No.
trying to break open, but yeah.
It's been gray the entire time, and frankly, a little disappointing. But I mean, being next to the ocean and just driving through the mountain ranges has been absolutely incredible.
It's great. Well, I'm glad you're down there safe, and I'm glad you had a day to be with yourself and in that kind of beauty, even though it wasn't as clear, but it sounds like you've had a good trip down.
It has been. It's kind of been a nice time to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Like typically I'm always for the efficiency and getting to point A to point B quick as possible. Whereas this was just, you know what? I'll get there when I get there. I'm going to enjoy the ride as it goes and not in a rush.
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. Efficiency trumps way too many things we're doing. And it doesn't always give us what we want. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. So I'm glad that you selected when you were thinking about getting down there fast and efficient, and then you decided to take Highway 1. What was the choice made for? What did you hope Highway 1 would give you?
You know, almost peace and tranquility, I guess is one way to put it.
Yeah.
Kind of just so I've driven down the I-5 route down south to SoCal.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of boring midway through. Not a lot to look at.
Yeah.
I wanted to really just see the beauty of California.
Yeah.
And to enjoy the actual nature here. We live next to the water. And frankly, I live 15 minutes away in San Francisco, but I never go to the water. So I wanted kind of peace of mind, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. Well, what you bring to my mind is like we're both desiring and actually made for deep quantities of peace. I mean, we just live better when we are in peace. And yet, the culture we often work in or live in is made for efficiency. Mm-hmm. So if you don't make a conscious choice to actually go with the pattern of peace, then you can always justify it for like efficiency. But then you end up at the end of the day still hungry for your life. Because life is found not in efficiency, life is found in the peace. And so in little simple decisions, that's why I kind of ask you the question, hey, you voted efficiency down, it's not a bad thing, but what did you really want? And you said, you said peace and tranquility. And then you just reminded me, if I don't make a choice to proactively do peace, I default because of the surrounding pressures and getting things done to efficiency. And then at the end of the day, I'm still looking for something that efficiency can't give me. So it's like learning how to live human in an efficient age. And you and I've talked enough in the background. I mean, we've talked 2 or 3 times in conversations with each other, like over lunch. And I kind of know your heartbeat as you've let me know you. And I know that you seek peace. and tranquility. So way to take a car trip with it. I'm glad you're having that kind of day.
It's been lovely. It's kind of like one of the things that was popping to mind when you were talking there is like, it's our default setting is now speed in many ways.
Okay.
It's always how to get to the next thing as fast as possible. It's how to speed through something. But in that process, you don't take the time to learn the little details along the way, because maybe you already the process, so it's just boom, 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 get it done, on to the next, and just like a constant conveyor belt of things that are happening.
Thank you.
And this, and I think actually, frankly, these last 2 months, that's what I've been trying to focus on, not going back to, and trying to get out of that mindset of constant back and forth.
How's that going for you? That's such a great way to frame something in that I think's meaningful. So the last couple of months, you've been intentional about trying to get out of the mindset of just habitual efficiency, just like things come one after the other, and you've been trying to interrupt that. Am I hearing you right?
Correct.
What do you want to interrupt it for again? Just so that if people are listening and I'm making sure that I'm hearing you, what is it that you want besides just like getting a lot of work done every day?
Well, I would say just with my job, it's constantly a interruption, either from calls or emails that need to be responded to really quickly, or documents that need to be sent out or created really fast to be sent out. And while doing all these different things, you're getting all these different distractions. And like my typical day before COVID happened, I was talking to 50 to 60 people a day.
Okay.
And that's through emails, texting, calls, various mediums. But that was, for the most part, all work related. And it was just a constant like reflipping of the frame to get to the next thing, and keep my mind, the ADD kind of mind, I guess, in line. Yeah. And it's been really hard to reset from, to be honest. It's hard to take that out.
It's an amazing trait that you built up. It's a strength, because I take it before you did that with 50 or 60 people a day, that was not a strength. So you learned to actually fill your day with so many more contacts and docs and emails and connections, and then handle interruptions. So a part of you was really skilling up. Right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. And then you take what was actually a very pursued strength. Your industry rewards that.
Yeah.
Business comes your way. People expect that. You had to actually ramp up to being able to do that. And then you got there. You got to the top of that ladder, at least. And like, what happened? Like, why was that? Why'd you check on that?
And keep in mind, I'm young, and I understand there's much to learn. But I think what I've started to learn, at least about myself, with all that busyness. Yes, there was success that came through it, but at the same time, there were times where I was just trying to push something out because it needed to go out.
Okay.
And not necessarily that it wasn't like my best work, but frankly, it just wasn't my best work. There could have been more detail in something, instead of just getting it out that had enough information. Like I could have kind of internally taken in more of that information to really kind of sit on, I guess, in a way. So it really soaks in, and therefore I'm more helpful to my clients and to the people that I talk to, with that being said.
Got it.
So this has been a process of kind of forcibly slowing myself down on everything possible.
You remind me, I grew up watching Westerns. If there was a good one on TV, I'd watch them, and it was always a gunfight. And you're making me think of an image of a guy who is really fast on the draw, but so he can like blizzard you with the bullets, but he doesn't hit the target very often. Yeah. So I can just see you like, hey man, I'm responding as quick as anybody that I'm in possibly competition with in terms of business, or I'm getting right back to clients, to potential people. But then you're also reflecting after enough time to like, but I'm not really hitting the target, that I want my voice, my work in the world to actually be different from everybody else's. Everyone's fast, or they're already sorted out. But once you get
Correct.
fast, how do you get good?
Mm.
Now, you're a swimmer. I know
That's
that.
correct.
That came up in our conversation earlier, I think our first lunch.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me that when you got in the pool, you had to get fast. But then when everyone else in a meet is fast, what would you qualify being good as well as being fast by? Like, what separated you from everyone else who is also fast? And
Mhm.
let's just say, let's just hold the word good for whatever that is. But how did you get, what's different than just being as fast as everybody else from the swimming days? Anything there for you?
I'd say the quality in a
Hmm.
way, and that I think could be taken into like the finer details
Yeah.
of, let's say, like even your starts. So when you're diving into the pool, like, are you piking your hips up so you get a better entry into it? Are you like, I mean, I can go into all the math of the the angles and the different pieces of each stroke. Like, if you spread out your fingertips when you're swimming, there's an extra little bit of water that goes in between there, and that actually creates more pressure for you to get more out of your stroke.
Are you
So
serious?
it's
So
like,
when you
yeah,
spread your fingertips, you get a little bit more pressure, which gives you more stroke energy?
correct.
Oh my God.
So which it does go back to the efficiency piece,
Mhm,
but you're also not using as much energy in
mhm,
that process.
mhm.
So it's faster, but it's also quality. And that's where, when I was in a good place in my races, that's where I would excel. But when I was
Interesting.
rushed and just trying to get through, I mean, you could see it just in the rewatching the video. It was like a scramble to just try to keep up, and frankly, I would actually get more tired doing that than if I was in a more quality place.
Now that's a great insight. Because after a day, let's go back from swimming, because I still want to play in the swimming, because I know you're like a collegiate swimmer. So I love
I could
that
talk it well.
metaphor. Yeah, yeah, no, I love that metaphor for us. But after a day of 50 or 60 fast turnarounds on transactional business things, that was energy that was draining. If you took time to do quality, to spread your fingertips, to borrow that metaphor, over on the business side, is that the kind of work that is more rewarding, or is there less energy drained? I know it's still work,
Mm.
but is that one of the differences, but just between just being fast, but also being like Jonathan type good? Do you feel more of your heart in your work? Do you feel like you're more at your work in the way that you want to be? And is your life getting fueled by good work rather than just fast work, fast work, fast work? Is it, or am I putting
I would
words in your
say
mouth? Curious.
no. I would say yes. This has been a little different because there's not the amount of work that I can actually do right now with COVID is
Mhm.
that has definitely diminished. But I would say in turn of that, the amount of people that I've talked to has basically gone shrunk in half, and I'm much more able to
Mm,
go deeper. I'm able to talk
mm.
more without feeling rushed, like I need to get to this next thing, or else I'm going to forget about doing it, or like, because that was always my issue, is because I had to talk to all these people and trying to keep track of all these different conversations. it's it's a lot and too much at times. But
Mhm.
when I could actually sit and get deep, like right now, sitting and
Yeah,
getting deep,
absolutely.
um, that's where the most reward came from, and that's where I find I have the most joy in talking with people, when I can really dig in and we can have a good 10-minute plus. Sometimes I'll have even like 30 minutes to 40-minute long conversations, and they didn't plan for that for that day either, but I think it's rewarding for both of us in that time.
Gosh, that's just so loaded with something good, the way you just said that. Because they're not planning for it either. And yet they're willing to give you that time if there's a good meaning for it. I
Mm.
mean, you're discovering in their life what you're discovering in yours, and that is that there's a desire to actually connect if we're
Mhm.
not both so fast. And So business is more meaningful for you when there's less efficiency and pace towards just how much can I do, and more depth and quality of connection. Like, am I hearing you right?
Correct. Yeah.
So can that be profitable? Does that have a downside of like, yeah, he sounds great, but he's going to do half the business?
See,
How
and
do you
this
work
is
with
where
that?
this is where I'm still
Yeah,
new in the business game to really
fair,
know for sure quantitatively.
fair enough.
However, personally, I believe it will be more beneficial
Okay.
because I believe that these kind of relationships are going to be more lasting than just some kind of transactional, something that's just quick off the pace. Say we got this thing done. Nice work. See you next time.
Got it.
Like the way I want to run the business that I work with is like being constantly in touch with people. Like I want to know the things that their troubles, and I want to know how to connect wherever those connections are to help fix those problems where I can. Not to say that I want to be the fixer, but I would love to be a facilitator in helping people solve problems. Like kind of being that connection point.
That's a beautifully stated like mission. Like nobody knows what your vocation is, and it's really, that's not super important. We all need to know what ours is, but how you do yours is what you just described so well. That through your vocation, you want to make the connections with people that are meaningful, that solve issues they care about. That's who you want to be.
Correct.
So going back to the swimming pool thing, I see if all the swimmers are fast, and we said, but you want to be fast and good. Good for you is calibrating a pace with the person you're with, where if they want to spend some time, if they want to say some more about what it is they're facing, you want to slow your pace to be present to that moment with them. That's the kind of good that you're talking about.
Correct.
And then you believe that that's the case. Money, the profit can actually take care of itself. It can be built on that kind of a foundation.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
And frankly, this might sound weird to a lot of people and frankly, business people. The money really doesn't motivate me as much.
Okay. All right.
Like, of course, I need money to survive. I need money to drive this car, to own this car, to live.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it has its necessity, but I don't want that to ever be the only thing that drives me. I want people to drive me. And by that, I mean, like, there's nothing better, and maybe this is selfish to say, but there's nothing better than helping someone and just seeing the relief on their face when a problem that they had has just been fixed or has just been alleviated a little bit, or there's like a little less pressure on them because you were able to provide them a value of service that they just weren't prepared for. That, to me, that's worth a lot. That's worth more than money to me.
Wow, it's well stated. I mean, I hear your heart in your words. And yeah. I'm thinking that you're not alone. I hope I'm
not alone.
in that there have been successful people. And by successful, I'm talking about the standard of, hey, they made the profit that so often other people looking on says, okay, that's success. And I hear you redefining that, but I'm saying I'm bringing them up because I think people that got there and your vision of like, if I help people along the way, then I'm not going to be disappointed in the future I arrive in. Because those people that valued others, as we look on their lives, it didn't actually demerit them in terms of financial success. In my work, I get worried for people that think that's the success that they're after, is the financial number turns around and tells them at some point, some decimal point, hey, you're really good. But what I fear for so many people that haven't made the value statement you're making is that they get down the road and they're fast and they're efficient. And they're still looking for what you said earlier is the peace, the tranquility of knowing what it means to be valuable to another person in this world through an act of business, but not for the sake of business. It feels like you just have a different leverage point. Where'd you, like, did you see that modeled? How did that get into you?
I would say I've seen very varying definitions of that kind of model, I guess, where the money was the big value point, or just the transaction, or being super good at being fast, those type of areas. And this might be brutal to say, but frankly, I feel like they're so lost. Like yes, that's everything they have, but at the same time, they have nothing, because they don't hold the same type of value for their family members, their friends. They see a lot of dollar signs more than they actually see just people, more than they see the person that's standing in front of them, or the person that's taking also time out of their day to talk with them, and vice versa. And then vice versa, like thinking on the other side of that, those people that talk to the people that have that kind of mentality, they feel like they're a weight, or the words are struggling with me right now. They're dragging them down in a way, because they're taking away from their day or their time, because that other person isn't reciprocating to them.
It's
so
yeah. I remember a lecture I heard not long ago, and a person said, how do you take your database and turn it into business? And really said, you need to scan through it and find out who are the potential people that can really help you get where you want to go. And you want to begin to sort them into group A. And you really need to peel off of some of these other people that simply are just kind of like draining or sucking time, because you got to get focused if you're going to get down the road. And I realized the ethos in the room as this person was presenting, and there's probably about 100 entrepreneurs in the room. People got dis-easy with it. At the same time, they were kind of thinking they were getting coached to efficiency and new levels of production. There was a growing gap. You could just feel it. You could sense it in the kind of person they wanted to be, in the business or the vocation that they were pursuing. Isn't that crazy? Because they had to almost become imposters out into the world with all these contacts, because they couldn't show up with more of their personhood, which is kind of what you're talking about today. Like, how do I really connect? How do I show up as a person? How do I hear the need of another? Like, that was being discredited as almost a drain or waste of time. And I remember this guy gave a 45-minute workshop to these entrepreneurs, basically helping them to come to this stuck place later in their lives of wondering why they're giving 50 to 60 hours a week into something that's like more meaningless, but maybe financially rewarding. And I just thought,
like
wow,
being a cog in the system.
Yeah. I mean, do you really have to choose between the two? I get it. You have to have priorities, and you give people time depending on where it is in the context. But just to think that you have to make a split between which kind of person am I going to be, it just sounds like to me that's a false dualism. That you want to be fast and good, and when those conflict, this is a question. How do you work with it when you want to be fast and good, and when that gets impeded, or when that comes into conflict, which one wins? How do you live with yourself, or kind of know, I got to cover your bases. You got to be fast enough to cover your bases, but you've also don't want a week go by without you saying, have I really been in my own skin, connecting with people, being present to my work with others? Like, when those conflict, how do you work with that? Is that a fair question?
It's a fair question. I think personally, at least frankly, since the start of January this year, I've prioritized being good versus fast. Now, the last 2 months have especially given me more time to really focus on that. And we'll see as these things start to speed up and business picks up a little more. But I would much rather it bring in quality and show my workmanship and show my care for people and show my care just for the people in general to show up than me just being speedy. Like, I would much prefer to take that humbling moment of saying, hey, I overshot getting this on time. I'm sorry. Is it okay if it's a day late or like a few hours later or something like that? You know what? I'm probably going to get some heat for that. And that's okay, because I would rather it be quality than just send out something to send it out.
Mm-hmm. So what's the
We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, no. And I like how you're measuring it, because like you told me, this is the early part of you forming your career. Mm-hmm. So you're trying not to go too far down the track, letting efficiency kind of lead you. You're actually interrupting yourself since January and saying, look, I'm going to intentionally put quality, and it's going to get practical in that I'm not going to hit send on an email until it sounds like me and it is what I want to say. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to slow myself down to the rhythm of that quality. So what headwinds are you hitting? Are other people knowing this? Are you getting pushback? Can you tell yet? Because I realize, yes, what it pays we'll know later, but like, I just want to know like what's that's really like day to day or week to week.
Mm-hmm. I would say right now I'm getting a lot of pushback from my work because money talks.
Yeah.
And frankly, I had a successful first year in what I do.
Yeah.
But now they're trying to push on I guess the sales of it more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've really told them is that I want to be very cautious in this time, especially with these last 2 months, and people have been in high stress periods of their lives, either with their families being at home and trying to get their work done and all these different things. And then you talk about this last week where the emotions have been extremely high. I mean, there's been a lot of pain in the world right now and very, very difficult. Now is not the time to really just try to sell to new people.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a lot of pushback. And you know what? I'm okay with it, because I'm going to stick by my morals versus trying to just make money. And that was a hard position to take with my bosses.
I don't want to push you beyond comfort around that, because I think you just framed it in like it's not easily done. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can sit here and think, isn't it wonderful that a guy wants to do quality and be good and not just fast? But when you
Sounds great.
Yeah, when you really put that down into play, can you financially do it? And we've talked about that. And then we've said, secondly, does the work environment allow you? How much headwind hits you? And you're saying, yeah, no, I got pushback. So are you developing, like for Jonathan, the worker, the guy you are right now in this call, what's developing in you in order to stay the course of what you called, this is a moral imperative for me. Like, I'm going to be this kind of person. I'm willing to take the cost. Okay, I like that goal. What's developing in you in order to hold that in the headwinds of your bosses or other things? Like, what do you need to buy down on in your own development to make that goal?
I can sum it up in one word, and that word is patience.
Oh, good to hear. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know what I was expecting. Patience.
Yeah, it's patience, because they're on multiple sides here. There's patience in the waiting of right now for this pandemic and when things open up. And given the business that I'm in, I can't do my job because we're not allowed in buildings. like that's just the truth of the matter. And at the same time, I think there'll be a lot more respect from people that I'm talking to, that I'm not trying to push something onto them, but instead sitting back and listening. And And like I said, that's just more important to me right now than trying to get an agenda out there.
So I'm wanting to hear you keep going on patience, because that's a beautiful word. Because saying it back, you're like, so Barry, what am I going to do? Push my way through on people? Am I going to push my way into buildings that I can't even get into? So it's like an enforced patience for you. And the headwinds are, hey, you guys need to be doubling down to get through this. You don't want to lose your contacts, 50 to 60, a day, whatever that. And last year you were a top producer in your own right. So they're like, hey, we're expecting big things. And you're saying, hey, COVID hit, civil unrest, police brutality, racism. And we got so much stuff on our minds. And you're saying, I need to develop patience if I'm going to arrive at the kind of life and goals that you want personally.
Correct.
So has patience been a big part of your life up to this point, or is this some new ground that you're starting to I'll say plow, but
I would say yes, but I haven't been willingly patient before now. It's always been like, oh, I gotta wait for this now, or like it's a painful thing. Whereas right now I'm finding that peace in the patience, to bring it full circle, like just to be centered and present with where I am now, knowing that down the road things are going to look up. These things that I'm doing now will pay off, believing they will. Because of course still I haven't seen it completely yet, and that's fine, but just knowing that it's going to work out. I fully have faith that it will all turn around at the right time when things need to happen.
What you remind me of is a person who knows what they want to be when all this is said and done, this most temporary time of sheltering in place. And like when you're on the other side of it, I'm hearing you say you don't want to just get back to where you were. You actually want to be a person that's developed the ability to know quality in your work and a patience. And so that wants to be a life skill that you'll never want to forget, that you want to develop now.
Correct.
I love the way that you're seeing the situation with this complexity, like this current one with COVID and the civil unrest, as an invitation to grow your life.
Yeah. I think I would say when this first thing happened, like I was in a very distraught state. It felt like, the whole world had kind of just crumbled, and I'm sure so many people can relate to that.
Oh yeah.
Like just like, well, what am I gonna do? Oh my, like I can't do anything. What do I do? And it took kind of like a couple weeks to really just reset my head and take a step back. So it felt like so much of me was just like right in front of whatever the problem was. Right. You could call it the news, the screen, whatever. Like it took time for me to just basically put it down, take a step back and be like, okay, well, this is just how it is. So how can I improve in this moment? What could I do to make myself better? Because this is a reset time in many ways, to slow down. Like it's a forced slowdown, but that could be useful. And how can I improve myself for the better? And I really wanted to take that on in strides, because if I help myself become better, I will be able to help others in their process, whatever that is, and to be a light for them in the dark times, and to bring some type of hope and positivity when necessary, not overdoing it, but some people don't appreciate it as much.
No, I get it. Gosh, the trip you just took so models that, because you just said you took Highway 1 to slow down. It's acquiring patience. it's suggesting that beauty and peace is how you want to live this day versus the efficiency and the speed of blowing south on Highway 5 on the racetrack and getting down there quickly. It's such a great metaphor. Like, and you said at the beginning of this whole shelter in place that your immediate goals were like, let's get a lot done like last year and actually do better than last year. And then COVID put an enforcement right out there on that track. And you're like, okay, hold it. If I'm being denied that by circumstances I can't control, how does this become an invitation for me to develop my life? And that tended to meet an inner hunger of, look, these 15, 60 non-quality emails and contacts every day that I'm doing. I mean, I know at some point in time, I'm going to have to adjust that. Well, like, why not now? And you're like, okay, all right. So I'm going to borrow that. So if I don't do it that way, how do I start to put quality and voice in my responses to people? Making time on calls for people that want to go further, hearing what they're up against, what are their fears on your business time. And mining out the kind of person you want to be during these 12 weeks now in such a way that when you go back into it, you probably won't, I imagine you won't be able to just blow through life with just efficiency only. Like you will have seen in this time something that you're going to carry forward.
Correct. And that's the goal.
That's the goal.
I don't want to go back to the race car, full 100 miles an hour, full speed ahead type of deal. That wasn't as, let's put it this way. I didn't feel as alive as I do now, even in the slowdown.
Interesting. That's a big statement. Because to me, hearing you, that's a big measurable for you. Is like, what is my quality of life? And you're telling me on that meter, I am more alive in a slower paced intention life than I am in just a sense of how much can I do, how much can my shoulders carry, how much can I turn over in a given day.
And I think I've
powerful.
told you that I was known for outworking anybody in the pool when it came to training, like to the point where I tore both my lats. Like I tore muscles because I overworked them. So I know what that hustle is like and what that living kind of is. But in that living, I also broke down far more than just being restful and being conscious and precise in my actions.
Gosh, I'm so glad you reminded me of that. I forgot you tore up your body by overpowering it with your own will. I heard a guy say, and I only heard it once, and it just it stung me. He said, I want to put my body into the service of my mind. And I want to put my mind into the service of my heart. And you just showed me a picture, and I can see it in my own life because you just gave me a picture of yours where I've asked my body to do things because my mind hasn't been able to figure out what's a good limit. What's just enough. So my body just overworks. I rip something, I tear something. It's like, oh, Barry, you're disconnected. And like, if somebody would have told me that as a young person, I would have said, oh, I get what you mean. I mean, you just got to learn how to drive yourself hard, man. What are you going to do? And you're like, wow, you've been in the pool at a high level of swimming to the point you know what it takes to win. And you assigned who you had to be to your body to the point where your body pulled. Did you say both lats?
Correct.
Did you
the same time? Yeah.
You tore. How do you tear a lat? Because I have never done that.
I
is that on a
frankly,
stretch? Is that on a?
Yeah. So it's like with the stroke over.
Okay.
So I had already felt the pain for months on end, but in turn, I just kept taking like ibuprofen and basically things to mask the pain while I swam because I wanted to keep pushing through it. So I don't believe it was torn originally, but then there was a point where I could physically not take a stroke. Like
that
I
broke down.
I was forced to kick just kick, like no arm strokes for 3 months at one point, because I just couldn't take a stroke. And then finally they said, you need rest. You need to stop what you're doing, because you're only making it worse by trying to keep going.
Gosh,
That was a hard thing to take.
Well, when you're young and your body is your warrior strength, and it's what you know you're best at in the world, and it lets you down, or you realize you're broken even with it, then it's like a deep check. And no wonder, I mean, this is beautiful to say, okay, that's college years. And then the first year in business, new guy, new firm, how good is he? How fast is he? How much can he carry? You're like, found the right guy, man.
Everything.
Set the record, set the record. Getting ready to go again. And instead of you breaking, COVID breaks out. And you get a chance to go, okay, hold it. What did I learn back in college about the way, if anybody can drive themselves, you get the trophy, right? I mean, that's proven. And you're also back with the results, which are less than pleasing. If I'm hearing you right, you're like, I don't want to be that guy again.
Correct. I don't want to bring myself to the point where, let's backtrack one more time. So tearing those lats was in high school.
Thank you.
College, I still hadn't learned. I had not learned from that point yet. And it took me until my senior year of college, where in the past 3 years before the big national meet, before the big meets, they would force me to rest 7 weeks just to get my body prepared to race, to get to my peak level.
For us who are non-swimmers, like if I rested for 7 weeks, I'd be like Jello. I mean, you were in shape enough that you literally, like when we say rest, do we mean not being in the pool, or we just mean doing a very light workout?
Very light workout. So normally my
weeks.
swimming, normally the swimming we would do is about 10 miles of swimming a day. is typically how much we trained. We were a little more than most colleges, but that's how we were trained. So that would go from 10 miles to 3 miles a day. And it would be very light, easy for the most part, with little spurts of like some fast speed in there.
Okay.
And that was 7 weeks of that to bring myself back to a point where I could actually breathe, more or less.
So if I gave every week a 7-day value, which I'm not sure you're doing 7-day workouts, but if you did anywhere from
6 days.
6 days. Okay. So 6 times 7 weeks. So you would actually be like 32 days of rest. And then you would face the best competition. You'd be at a national meet, needing your best effort and time. So that's a true test. So are you by time able to say that the rest actually made you more productive? Or was your time equal? You just didn't get hurt?
Correct.
What happened?
To give you a quantitative way to look at it, 200 IM was my best event. And in season, like when I'm training at my hardest, maybe got like a day rest or something before a meet, I would compete at a 1:54 second time. Okay, just to put that out there.
Okay.
And then by the time the national meet came around, 1:45. So I would drop 9 seconds.
9 seconds you dropped. Okay.
Yes, with that extra rest. And but I never was, for whatever reason, that never clicked in my mind to like train smarter instead of just training hard. And then like, okay, I'll wait till I get to my 7 weeks and then I rest then. And it took me until my senior year to understand that if I am to train smarter, which means actually, not forcing every single set and actually taking a slower pace and finding that the easy stroke or easy speed is what they call it, where it's like you're not even really trying, but you're still going at a really solid pace. Like that's when things clicked. And I suppose that's kind of what I'm trying to reteach myself now.
That's what I'm hearing. I mean, this is a beautiful metaphor, Jonathan. keep going. I don't mean to interfere. I'm just like, I'm totally with you. Like, yeah.
It like trying to find that quality and
Yeah.
efficiency where I'm actually, and of course the contrast between swimming and people are different, but I think they still can be a comparison for a swimmer being kind of individualistic.
Yeah.
A part of a team though.
Yeah.
So in the sense of, not trying to rush everything, being very present when I'm talking with people, like talking to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
I probably could have forced myself to drive and talk, but would I be paying attention to either of those options? Probably not as much. Like
Exactly.
it would probably not be the best thing.
Exactly.
So by stopping, parking, to take the time to be present in this conversation, that provides a much more depth and I would say rich conversation. There's more to pull out of it.
Certainly. Gosh, I love how you put the story together of being in a high performance collegiate swimming mindset where you actually got a better time by taking a rest. You shaved time, you got a better performance. And then you laid that over as you calibrate your workload. If you're just going to use speed and efficiency and push yourself, you're exposed to injury. You're really about yourself in a big way. That's how we hurt ourselves. But you're actually saying, okay, since January, I've taken 2 months of being intentional about slowing myself, not for the lack of performance, but to actually get to the kind of performance I want to be known for, that I want my life to be about.
Mm-hmm.
And the temptation is the bosses and the headwinds and the expectations of the firm want to take that on and challenge that. Or the financial fears of, yeah, but what if you go belly up financially? You still going to be the guy given the extra 10 or 15 minutes on the phone and you're like, I'll never know until I set myself at that pace. Mm-hmm. Better to do that than to live the next 20 years afraid to try it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty powerful.
And I would say on that note of how I'm practicing that now is I'm working towards getting 3 to 5 very intentional conversations a day.
Okay, good to know.
I'm not trying to go for the 50 to 60. I'm just going for 3 to 5. They'll definitely be like probably between 10 to 15 more people that I talk to throughout the day. But if I'm intentional about those 3 to 5 people that I am calling firsthand, just to have a conversation and see how they're doing, I think that's going to be more powerful down the road than waiting for them to call me.
Yeah. To put it like, yeah, no, I like that. And to put that in like in a kind of an ultimate picture, this is morbid, but so you want to know what is morbid? Like, how many people do you need to have at your funeral?
Yeah.
I mean, when it's all said and done and you've lived it and you did your work and you did your love and you did your play and you did your life, and you get a chance then to say, okay, it's all behind me now. Mm-hmm. How many people do we really need to fill a place? Like, what's the right number? Mm-hmm. It occurs to me as a young man, I was thinking into the hundreds would be fantastic. Stuff you've seen on TV. But as I've gotten older, I mean, I'm trying to be honest here. I think I would just like a front row of some people that said, he impacted my life. Mm-hmm. He knew me. Yeah. And I think that's kind of a powerful image. If it's true on that day, ultimately, then it should be any day I live as true. Like, what do I want? 60 calls? Really? What do I really, really want? Or do I want the deeper connections with some people that I can really bring the value of my life to? Mm-hmm. And then let the money follow. I think business follows where there's purity of mission and there's clear mm-hmm. purpose. I've seen it over and over. And when you get those backwards, You get a lot of money, but you don't have clarity of purpose.
Mhm.
And that picture never turns out very pleasing.
Mhm.
I love the way you brought that so clearly into focus for us.
I think kind of on that is like the principle of generosity.
So you
And,
say,
and there's,
how's that tie in? Like,
if you're willing to give more than you're getting, it eventually all comes back at some point.
mm-hmm.
Granted, that's not the goal, but I think there's just a natural progression of that just happening. If you're
Interesting.
naturally generous towards other people, and sometimes it might be forced, like you might be forcing to do something more that would take time out of your day. I think people pay attention to that, and maybe it's not necessarily directly being returned to you, but that generosity might be contagious for somebody else that needs it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like just, it's spreading the love, like, to break it in a very broad term. But
yeah. Well, we as humans, let me jump in there, because as humans, we get a chance to build our own ecosystems per se. My choices, my measures of what I give out tend to create the ecosystem in which I'm participating. And many times the size of pipe I use to give is the size of pipe a person can give back through, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and again, it's not so that I get more. It's if we're going to live and create this thing that we call our life, then the measure that we use to give out usually is the measure people begin to either appreciate or not. And I put boundaries around my life. If I'm giving and I'm with a lot of takers, then I'm like you. I put a boundary on it. Like I drive Highway 1. I slow it down. I'm like, I get it. And that's not because I'm trying to be selfish. It's like, that's not a healthy, functional way that I want the ecosystem work. But you know what? Most people aren't there to rip me off. Most people are able to understand that we're building something by which they too can be part of and how they give. Have you read that book, Given? I don't know what the title of it, but it was Takers and Givers. I want to say Adam Grant came out about 4 or 5 years ago. He said fundamentally, he kind of divided the world in that there are people who give and there are people that take. And of course, you know, he's talking about how do you come into the balance. It was pretty transactional. I appreciated at least he got us thinking about it's good to be someone who gives and who's looking to slow down, to be present, to give, rather than just, hey, I take, I transact, you give me business, I call you back. That's my ecosystem. Are you valuable to me or not? Instead of like, no, I'm here present to be with you. Like you said, I pulled over today. I put it in park because you wanted to be with me, which makes a whole different conversation happen between us, right? So like, I can totally appreciate that.
Yeah.
Gosh, we said so many good things, right? Okay, so recap, not everything, but like what do you pull out of this that you heard? And I'll tell you what I heard. What's meaningful? What's a moment we just shared together? I'm curious how you heard it.
The art of peaceful living.
That's a good title, isn't it?
Simple way.
It is an art. Yeah. Well, I heard a young man who knows himself enough to know that he has an incredible will that's probably got him out of a lot of things in life and helped him face a lot of challenges where lesser efforts might have failed. So he measured himself early and he's found himself powerful. And then he met the limit of that strength and he desired more than just to be strong and fast. He wanted to be present. He wanted to care. And so he has intentionally looked in the mirror and said, it might cost me money. I doubt it, but it might. It might cost me some headwind in my own firm. But I'm going to shape my life from the inside out. And I want to build quality and purpose and meaning in the things that I do and give myself to. And that's the guy that just spent an hour with me. So that's encouragement to me, Jonathan. Honestly, I mean, you know that, but I really thank you for letting me get a chance to hear these words and kind of more of your story. It's always good when we hang out, but thank you for this.
I love our conversation.
Yeah, I do too.
For pulling out a lot of these things that kind of help me.
Is it true that I put words in your mouth? Is that?
No.
That's it.
But you help pull out information that I know is there, but sometimes saying it kind of makes it more tangible.
Absolutely. Thanks for letting me, and I can't do that. If you don't let me see in, I can't do that. So thank you for your candor.
The one thing that you've taught me that I will never forget is vulnerability is the greatest strength.
Wow.
And I believe that, and I think that more people need that today. We have so many people putting on a face. Like, this is the time to be real. We need real people.
No kidding, man. Well, thanks for making it happen for this hour. And then, like whatever you do this evening, are you going to drive on further down now?
I've got about an hour and a half or so left.
Well, wherever you go, and I go to my next thing. We're going to show up as we would hope to in the places we go next, because we spent some time together being authentic and vulnerable now. So thank you for that. Like other people, I hope get the benefit of what you and I just were able to give and experience with each other. So thanks again, man. Thanks for taking some time off the road just to keep this appointment. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Barry.
Have a great time in beauty. I know you're down there for patience and rest, so have a great time. And then
thank you.
When you get back up here, we'll want to hang out, okay?
Love to. We'll catch up.
All right. Thanks so much, Jonathan. I'll let you go.
Yeah. Have a good night.
All right. Peace.
So that was another conversation. And again, thank you for joining us, because the contributions each of us made and built on gave us not only something to value in the moment, but now we walk out into the world. So the purpose of Be Do Labs is not just to grab time from you, but to actually give your time more purpose in the next step you take in your life. So embody it, practice it, and come back for more. Thanks for being part of our community.